My name is Mariah McLouth, and my presentation is on exploring the idea of the hero X a novel in the theme, and who the hero might be. I believe that the hero in this story is Malcolm, because he fills not all the steps, but many of them. In the Crash Course video, it explains they do not have to fill every step, but enough for it to make sense that they are a hero. I could only find 12 out of the 15 points in the hero's journey circle that Malcolm fills. Malcolm has the freedom to live as a kid. His father died eventually because the Ku Klux Klan killed him when Malcolm was young. He stole from his neighbor's garden for something to eat and had a blast while doing it. Malcolm ran around town having fun just like other teens until he got himself into deeper trouble than he thought. His mother was taken away from him and he realized he had to leave. He had to get out. He did not want to die in Lansing. He had his whole life ahead of him. That leads to his call to an adventure, or pretty much a runaway from reality. He goes off to Boston to live with his half-sister, Ella. Since there was technically no refusal of the call, since this was his only other choice besides staying home with his siblings, Malcolm X's his first step that he does not fill. Malcolm's supernatural aid was not so supernatural, since it was an older man named Earl Willis that accompanied Malcolm on his trip into the first threshold. Malcolm took the train to leave his hometown of Lansing to start a new life in Boston. He then was swallowed into his new lifestyle, working a decent job and doing side hustles just to get by. He decides that Sugar Hill with his half-sister Ella is not where he belongs. He belongs to Roxbury, a much more darker town at the bottom of the hill that features clubs, darker-skinned people, and fancy suits galore. Malcolm has many roads of trials. His first one consists of trying to make it on his own with his new friend Shorty in Roxbury. He has to get a job, start paying rent for his room he is renting from Shorty, and try to make a relationship work. This brings me to his second road of trials that is later in the story, trying to win over Sophia. He smokes marijuana to impress her, steals jewelry for her because he cannot afford to pay for it himself, and later in the story, decides to rob home with her. Malcolm technically does not meet with a goddess, but someone that can lead him in the right direction, Shorty. He helps Malcolm navigate the city, teaches him the ropes, and even shows him how to make even more side money without getting caught by the police. The woman as a temptress that he met was Sophia. She got him to do many bad things with her, such as, like I said before, robbing homes in a quaint white suburb with homes filled full of diamonds galore. Later in the story, she ends up getting him in trouble by saying that she was not a part of the crime, and Malcolm is given an even worse punishment because he took advantage of a lighter-skinned girl. Malcolm does not confront his father, but has many flashbacks about him whenever Ella, his half-sister, talks to him. In the story, that is also a big reason why he moves to Roxbury, to get away from his family for a second and live life how he wants, without anyone telling him what to do. That became a problem whenever he was living with Ella, causing him to leave to Roxbury. Malcolm does not turn into a god in the step apotheosis, but instead he goes the opposite way. He ends up moving to Harlem because of the hustle and bustle interests him there. He even becomes friends with many prostitutes and pimps in the area and works with them on occasion. He worked for a crazy man named Archie who thought he was ripped off by Malcolm. When Archie comes to kill Malcolm, Malcolm is found by Shorty deep into drugs and alcohol after hearing that Malcolm was in trouble. Shorty then takes him back to Boston to live with him once again. There is no prize for Malcolm, only a trip to jail where he went a little bit crazy. This is another one of the hero's journey moments that does not fit Malcolm and his life story. The refusal of return fits Malcolm's hero's journey. At first, he wants to return back out into the streets of Harlem and Boston, but then he met Ben Bree, someone in the same jail as him, that gives him a book that is about civil rights activism. This changes Malcolm's outlook in a big way and for the better. He no longer wanted to live in the streets, and he was content with his thoughts about life from then on. There was no magical flight, making this another one of the hero's journey steps that Malcolm did not fill, since there was no mythical creature saving him from anywhere. But he was rescued from without in a roundabout way. The cops rescued him from his downhill slope he was sliding down of drugs, drinking, and being high. Malcolm is now the master of two worlds, the lighter, stronger side of the world, or where his mindset was after reading the civil rights activist book, or before he went to Boston, and he also conquered the darker, deeper side of the world, or where his mindset was when he was first put into jail. He also crossed the return threshold by speaking to his siblings. Since he hasn't spoken to them in years, I consider this the crossing the return threshold because he is returning back to his original thoughts that he had when he was with his family when he was young. Powerful, motivation, civil rights activist kind of thoughts. Another way he crossed the threshold is with his thoughts mentally. He returns to the positive way of thinking after he's been in jail for so long. In the end of the book, even though he is still in jail, his thoughts are free to live. Before he was arrested in Boston, he would not allow his thoughts to come out. He just masked them by drinking and doing drugs. Now that he has read that civil rights activist book, his thoughts are freed once again. To know that they are powerful and that every person has basic rights, no matter what race. In conclusion, Malcolm fits almost every criteria in the hero's journey besides for four: refusal of the call, the magical flight, apotheosis, and the ultimate boon. This goes to show that Malcolm is in fact a hero since he fills 12 of the other hero journey slots. And these are my works cited. Thank you.